show her this when she's 18.
Why? Why?
This is going to be the video when she gets married.
It is. Bibi, why are you doing this to me?
Bibi?
You're just showing me up now. Bibi. Get up, please. Allez, dépêche-toi. Hello world, this is really fun. So this is my first Facebook live session. This is very strange. My name is Lynn JT, and I'm a mummy with a 2-year-old girl who's like right in the middle of her tantrum stage, toddler tantrums, and I want to give you my 5 top tips on how I deal with them. I'm not saying that this is the be-all end-all tantrum solution that's going to solve all your problems, but I wanted to share with you what seems to have worked for me with my little 2-year-old girl who has got such a mind of her own and seems to be attracted to public drama. So it's like the more open the places, the more eyes that are looking at you, the more likely it seems that she'll want something that she's not allowed to have and completely throw away. I don't know when this stops. I'm hoping it's going to be sooner than later, but I don't foresee it to be anytime soon. So with lots and lots of trial and error, much more error than anything, and lots of reading up and listening to other people's good advice and bad advice, I've come up with my own 5 top tips on how to deal with this, and it really does seem to work for me, all of these tips. And well, the times it doesn't, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have to just laugh about it. So that actually starts me off nicely with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is embrace the public humiliation completely, because it's going to be embarrassing. If this hasn't happened to you yet, okay, it probably will at some stage. I don't wish it on you, but it probably will. And maybe this has happened to you 1,000 times before, and you are in a public space, your kids on the floor kicking their hands and their legs. That's what BB does anyway. She's crying, she's moaning, she's looking at you like you've just stabbed her in the back. It's the worst feeling ever. You feel terrible, and at the same time you're angry at them, so you're managing all these emotions and top all that up with embarrassment. You can just feel the eyes of other people looking at you, daggers. You can't hear them, but they're thinking it so loud, they might as well be saying out loud, hey, why can't you control your child? What kind of a parent are you? How are you letting this happen? Can you please just shut her up? This could be, you know, in cases like when you're in a restaurant, public transport, things like that, where you're basically in a square space and you can't move. There is nowhere to run and there is nowhere to hide. So you know what, it's gonna happen. So just embrace the embarrassment. It's gonna happen, and this is twofold. One is I embrace it. I just look over at people who do stop and stare or anything like that, and I just look back at them and I smile, I shake my head, I say, oh my god, Rachel, hello Rachel. This is really funny. I'm doing my live, my first live feed. You don't even have kids yet, okay? But you should listen to this anyway. So people are going to be staring at you, and that you might as well be thinking out loud, can you just control your child, please? And well, you can't, so just stare back at them. I just stare right back at them, give them a big smile, and I just say, hey, you know what? I don't think it, but I'm thinking it so loud. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying one day this is going to happen to you, my friend, and you are so going to regret this. You're going to remember this day when you've been looking down at me thinking like, oh, what a bad parent, no, I can't believe, you know, you can't control your own child. Well, that's the thing. It's like the more people judge, I think the world works in a way that, you know, karma, universe, resettlement, balance, and all that, I think that will come right back at them. So don't worry about those kind of people. Just rise above it. And I know that's easier to say. So that's embracing the whole public humiliation, first fold. Second fold, if she's really, really embarrassing you, it's really, really, really humiliating, then what I kind of say is, you know what, if you're going to embarrass me, I'm going to take you down with me, and I'm gonna embarrass you right back. Oh yeah, nieces and nephews, exactly. So I just say like, look, you know, if you're gonna do this to me, this is you're coming down with me. I'm not taking all this shame and I'm not taking all this embarrassment just for myself. I'm going to share all the love with you. And the way I've started doing that, and it's really weird, it sounds like it's terrible parenting, but actually it works, and I think she finds it quite funny by the end of it. I just get my phone out and I start filming her and say, like, I'm going to show you this on your wedding day. It's like, this is ridiculous. I'm not laughing at her, I'm trying to laugh with her at the situation. So I'm trying to take her out of this whole vicious mindset of being angry. I talk out loud. I say, like, baby, you are completely showing me up here. This is so embarrassing. And I just say it, I shout it out loud. I shout it for those people, those naysayers who are like staring at me anyway. So it's like, yeah, it's cool. Completely embarrassing them. The situation, it's fine. And the more I say that, the more I feel comfortable about it, the less stress I feel. I feel my blood pressure goes down. I'm trying to make it just see the funny side of it. And I think if you can just see it as a funny side and not be angry at them for doing it, then it makes it a whole lot easier. And she does get embarrassed. I think, you know, little ones, we don't give them enough credit for how much they're understanding and how much they're feeling. Even though they can't express themselves that well, they do feel it. And after a while she stops, she gets really embarrassed and she just kind of looks around and just shuffles off, and it kind of dissipates. It's the funniest thing, and if you let it, it will be humiliating. If not, you can turn it around and it's just a funny situation. And when I do this, I actually feel other people, the people are staring around, they don't stare at you the same way. There's a little bit more compassion there. They might find it a bit funny too, a bit curious, definitely odd because they don't see other people doing that, and they kind of, it's okay. It makes the whole, diffuses the whole situation. So there. 1, embrace. 2, is distraction, good old distraction. Now, my mum's told me this so many times. I've heard loads of people say this and I've never believed it. I've never thought, you know, that you should distract them. For me, when they said, oh, just distract them with something, you know, show them a toy, give them something else, I'm saying, you're giving in to them. You're completely giving in to their tantrum. You're saying, oh, it's okay to have a tantrum. You'll get something out of it. Aren't I actually teaching them something? Hey, Sam, how are you? I can't sign for this. Oh my gosh. But thank you anyway for the thumbs up. What was I saying? Yeah, distraction. So I thought, actually, if you give in to them like this, then you're just saying that what you're doing is completely okay. When it's not okay. You can't just have a tantrum and then I give you a prize for it. So I never used to do that. I never bought into it until I kind of had to. You know, I hadn't actually embraced the public humiliation thing yet, and I did just really want it to stop. It's just like, just stop this whole thing. And so one of my friends just said, look, when you show them this, take them away, do this, and it really, really works. So I have completely done a U-turn on my opinion on this one. I think if you can distract them, it gets them out of that angry mindset. Do a geographical, literally pick them up or walk them out and just say, okay, look, we're not in this angry space, we're going over here and I'm gonna show you this thing. There's a shop over there with something really cool in it. We're gonna go see that. And even though I really still kind of disagree with that, it gets them out of that angry mindset. So the whole like teaching them that having a tantrum is okay and you get a reward for it is not good, but it does stop it there. And this is, I suppose what I'm trying to say is it gets them out of that loop. Does anyone know Caesar the dog trainer? Right? Does anyone know Caesar the dog trainer? He's this really awesome guy who trains unruly dogs, and this is terrible to make a parallel between dog training and parenting, but I swear at this point really makes sense. Dogs are really angry, they get into this yappy, they're barking at the telly or a person, you don't even know why. After a while they don't even know why they're barking. They're just angry and they're full of angry hormones. They're just in this horrible mindset, this horrible place, and it's almost like they can't get out of it themselves. So what Caesar does, and I'm not saying do not do this with your kids, but what Caesar does is that he just snaps them out of it. He says, and he does that every time they start barking, and it shocks them. It completely stops them in their bark, and it snaps them out of this horrible mindset, and they can relax. They can take a step back and realize, wait, what am I doing? Why is this happening? And that actually calms them down. That's the whole same thing with distraction. I think it's not waiting until it gets to the phase where they're screaming and they're on the floor and you're tearing your hair out. That's too late, and I think then you would be rewarding a tantrum with a prize. But if it's before that, you can see where it's going. After a while, you kind of feel this thing happening. You kind of know where it's going. Before it gets to that that stage before it gets to that cutoff point, that's when it works. The distraction is just, look, you know this is going in a bad place. Okay, let's change this, let's do that. And it kind of saves you from the whole tantrum thing. And then I suppose after we'll be discussing about, look, you know, later on when you've got more time, explaining to them when you have the time that there's a place and time for certain things. You can't do that. You can't always have what you want. Mommy has to do this because of that. And just explaining to them and getting more communication through, because sometimes the poor things, especially my 2-year-old, she's got so much she wants to say, so much she wants to ask, and she just doesn't have the language skills to do that yet. So it's really frustrating. Maybe she didn't even want to buy the toy or the sweets that she was frantically pointing at. Maybe she just wanted me to tell her what they were called or what flavor they were, or just say something about the doll, like, oh, you know, wouldn't that make a nice present for someone? So I don't know, but I don't think I always get it right with her. I don't understand what she says all the time, and that's why it ends up in a tantrum. So sometimes that is the best thing, to just get out of it before it becomes that, and then work on the communication level. So that's it. Tip 1, tip 2. Tip 3 is to just not shout at them. I think that seems pretty obvious. Everyone say, oh, don't shout at them, you know, it's only going to escalate it. But the temptation is there, and put my hands up. I have shouted at her numerous times, in public even, and it doesn't work. It makes you feel really bad. It makes you feel, you regret it almost instantly, because you feel all this anger build up and you just let it out. So you've completely lost control of yourself, and that feels terrible in itself, that you couldn't even control that. You feel worse about not being able to control your child, that they're having a tantrum. And then the worst thing is the way they look at you when they're shocked, maybe scared. Like if my husband shouts at her, he's got a much more booming voice, and that can be scary to a little child. So yeah, it doesn't work. It just escalates things. So I just try to not do that at all now, and I just go through with the other steps instead. So that takes me to the 4th tip, which is to give them an out. Now that's quite an interesting one. It's from the whole good cop, bad cop theory. So and from my own experience as a child, remembering how it was like to have a tantrum, to get so angry, to get to the point that I almost didn't know what I was angry about, but I was just really super mad at my parents, and it was no longer about the original thing that I wanted. It was now just a face off with my mom, because I was embarrassed and hated her in that moment for not giving me what I wanted, or just for not being on my side. I suppose that's how I would have seen it. So by definition, that makes you the bad cop, unfortunately. You're the one who shouted at her, you're the one who said no, you're the one who's not allowed her to have whatever it is that she wants. So you are bad cop, and you're trying to go through all those other things and they're not working. Maybe you're shouting at her. You may not have wanted to, but you might have resorted to that. We all have, I have. So you're the bad cop. She's not going to listen to you. She's not going to suddenly go, oh yeah, sure mom, okay, you can just like shout at me and be mean and say no, and I'm going to be okay with that, and you're shouting at me even louder, and I'm going to be okay with that. No, that's never going to happen. It's going to make her feel scared and angry at you. She'll make you she'll resent you, and she might even remember it later as well, and be some kind of warped, horrible memory. So I want to avoid all that and just not shout at her at all. But I am the bad cop. So enter the good cop. And this works when you've got a partner with you, a friend, or your husband or your wife. So I've done my part. Unfortunately, she hasn't listened. I let her just maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just like be on her own, try and think it through, or if she's still crying, tantruming. And then the good cop comes through and goes down to her level and kind of whispers, takes it really slowly, and he's like a completely different person, and he gives her the out. He gives her that opportunity to just save her dignity, because I think at that age still, even though it's young age, they have an awareness, self-awareness, they want to keep their pride, they have a lot of pride, and yeah, their ego. So he bends down, kneels down next to her, and he just whispers, look, you know, baby, it's not a nice situation to be in, is it? I know you're upset, don't worry. Look, why don't you stop crying, give me a big hug, and it will make it all better, and we'll go outside and do something more fun. Doesn't matter what happened here, we can just move on. And it's so amazing because it works.
Staying still.
Phoebe! Right, so she's unhappy. I'm obviously tagged as the bad cop now. She doesn't want to make eye contact. She doesn't want to listen to me. She's so angry. And yep, down she goes. So I've just left her there, and there's nothing I can do that's going to change her. If I try and pick her up, it's just going to get worse. So there you go. Daddy gets to play the good cop. I know. Oh no, dirty hands. It's okay, Papa. Kiss, kiss, Papa. Oh, all's well. You daddy's girl. That is a daddy's girl. But we love you, baby. You were the bad cop, but then they came in. They've been the good cop. They're giving them the out, and they will take it. It's just being patient and letting them have the time to absorb what you're saying. They do feel a little bit sheepish. They'll be like shifting their eyes around, not looking at you directly, definitely not looking at the bad cop. But then after a while, they'll just slowly get up the floor, head down, little crestfallen, and then just leap into your arms and go off, because you're saving them from that situation. You're saving their saving face. And they might not have gotten what they wanted, but at least, you know, there's a way out of this instead of dragging them out of the shop or like putting a muzzle on them in the restaurant. So yeah, that's my fourth theory on the good cop, bad cop, giving them an out. I really think it works. Then if all that fails, you've tried distraction, you've completely embraced the public humiliation, and you've tried to take it down with you, and you've definitely risen above anyone who's just giving you those dagger looks. You haven't shouted, and you've tried the good cop, bad cop thing. And if you can't do that because you're on your own, there's a fifth and final tip that I have for you. And this final tip comes from my mum. This is what, it's not like she told me this. This is actually what she did to me. She wouldn't shout. She would never shout at us. She didn't do really any of the other things that I listed above that I've been doing with my daughter and that I've seen other people do. She would just let us rage, be like, I want this dad! Me and my sister just going a bit crazy in the shop or in the restaurant. And she would tell us once, she would tell us twice, she would tell us 3 times, really nicely, just, you need to calm down now. You're having a tantrum and it's not working. You need to be calm. And she would tell us exactly what was wrong and how she wanted us to behave. And then, if it continued, she would go right down to our level, and it would be like a tunnel of private conversation, and she'd just look at us, really steely-eyed, no smiles. She was not laughing. And she would just say, just wait till we get home. And that was it. I can't even keep a straight face. I don't even know I can do this. I haven't tried this yet. I think this is for slightly older kids when there is a lot more comprehension and you've got a good punishment system at home, like the naughty step or something like that. Because she would do that, and instantly I would be struck with fear, and I knew that no matter what I did to try and buy back some brownie points, I would not be able to turn back time, undo what's been done, and the damage would have been done. And I knew that when we got home, my mum would follow through. I knew she would follow through, and she always did, and that's why it worked. That's why the next time when we went out and she would say that to us, we knew exactly what was coming. We would go home and she would follow through with whatever punishment she deemed fit for the crime. So depending on how bad it was, if we were throwing things, hitting people, or just like being annoying. And it would be either no TV, or like you go to bed early, anything like that, something like that. Or just stay in your room, or you're not allowed to play with your sister, not allowed to see your friends. She would just deprive us of something, of a privilege that we would normally have access to. So simple. And that worked. The key was that she followed through on that, and it didn't matter how much we begged on the way home. It didn't matter how radically we changed our attitude for the rest of the day, how well-behaved, extra well-behaved we were, how nice we were, how much we sucked up, how much we prayed that she would forget what had happened. She wouldn't. It would be in her little book up there, her little mommy book. And when we got home, that's it. Punishment would be dished out. So there you go. Wait till you get home. The horrible steely-eyed quote from my mom. Those are my 5 tips on how to deal with tantrums. They are by no means exhaustive. It's what works for me at the moment. I say that it works Tantrums still happen, and I think that they're going to be here for a while. So I really hope that you found this helpful. Subscribe to my channel and you can see all the videos that I was talking to you about. Leave your comments and any extra tips that you have in the comments box, any questions you have as well. And if you have any specific topics that you want to cover at our next chat, then let me know. I hope to be here often and get to know more mums and dads out there, so we can have a much more two-way conversation than just me talking blah at you. I always try and make it helpful and not to just rant about the things that aren't going on. Sometimes there are things that just, aren't going well, and it's nice to be able to share that. It's nice to just be able to know there's other people out there with the same things. But since this is my first Facebook Live, I thought I'd keep it quite lighthearted. But we'll see what happens next. So thanks for tuning in, guys. It was lovely chatting with you, and I'll see you real soon.